So
Yeah.
good night, everyone. Welcome to Money Mindfulness Live, right, from Empower Her 101. And tonight we have with us our special guest speaker, who is a licensed financial consultant, none other than Pretender Grace Dube. So, hello,
Hi.
hello. Thanks so very much for joining us. Before we get started, right, we're just going to introduce what the night is going to be all about.
Mhm.
So, tonight we'll be speaking on, how to prepare ahead for the future, especially as it relates to financial unforeseen events, right? So some of the things that you would never think about, that is what we're going to talk about here tonight and help you to be more prepared for them. So just in case something pops up on you out of the blue, you're not panicked and worried and you don't know where to turn, where to go, how to deal with it. So thankfully we have Grace with us tonight, right? So please continue with us as we uncover some blind spots and suggest different solutions that you can explore, right? So Grace is she is tuning in right now from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. So how is the temperature over there right now?
Actually, today we can consider it as nice day because it's a little bit warmer. I didn't check where we are at right now, but maybe we are around 2 degrees or something like that, which we call warm at this time of the year. So it's actually pretty good.
Interesting. So I'm happy that the temperature is, good right now. So let's just dive right into it because I'm sure that everyone is really eager, as much as I am, to hear you speak about these interesting points. So
Awesome.
let's first talk about how someone, especially for those persons who are planning on expanding their family, having children, how can they go about doing that the best way so that they don't run into, hiccups down the road? Oh, I didn't plan for this, I didn't plan for that. Can you talk to us a little bit more about this?
Okay. Yeah. So I like to just start with one of the quotes that I recently posted even on my profile as well, that, planning is actually bringing the future into the now so that you can actually plan for ahead, right? And you can fix things that you want to do. So, in just answering that, when you are planning to expand, there are so many things that you have to consider, right? Because if you are just planning for your own life, your finances personally, right, it's so different when it comes to you starting a family and having more people on board, right? Because you have to now think about, okay, so are you going to have two incomes as a family or not? Or are you going to have, maybe if you are planning to actually have kids and all, are you going to have your wife actually maybe staying home as a stay-home mom, or what it will look like, right? So all the costs that will come in, even to start having a baby, all those things, you have to plan for them financially, right? Because if you're not ready financially, you're going to you are going to face some hiccups that might not be great, right? So things that you can do is to start saving. You can start a small savings plan along the way, but you also have to make sure that it's also practical, right? And make sure that whatever saving amount that you are putting aside, you can't be putting aside a $20 a week or a $20 a month to prepare for something that is going to be costing you almost, how can I say, maybe starting $500 or something like that, right? If it's way, way, way in advance, you can do that and accumulate all that, right? But if you have a short span to prepare for, you have to actually make sure that you are actually saving more in advance, right? Because depending on how close you are to the goal that you want to reach, you do your calculation and make sure that you save properly for that as well. So saving will help you to get to where you want to go when you're expanding your family as well. Think about it in advance. Make sure you have good protection in place, and that will be helpful for you and your family. Yeah.
Wow, that is such an incredible answer. And I have to say that I agree 100% with everything that you just said. All right. So how about those persons who doesn't matter what stage in life they are, whether they just graduated from college or even high school, or maybe they are, a little later down the road in life, but they have decided to start a business. Is there any advice that you have for those persons?
Okay. Yeah, so when to actually prepare for starting a business, most of the time it depends on where you are at, right? So, for example, if you are currently working a job, right, a 9 to 5 job or things like that, right, start saving ahead. If you are planning to then go full time in a business or anything like that, right? And also make sure that you calculate your current costs, right? I can talk from an experience, right, whereby, jumping into things prematurely when you're not yet ready, right? Because starting a business is gonna take so much, right? And when you are just depending on your income from the business, everything is on you, right? You have to be the one to work for the income to come. If you don't work, there's nothing. So there's no food at the table, right? So if you're not ready to put in that work that you need to put in your business, make sure you have something on the side, for example, that will give you constant income until you're ready to put in the work that you need to put. So that will be really helpful. And also, if you have savings ahead of time, that will also be helpful as well to cushion you in between you transitioning from having a job to just going full time in your business as well.
That is so true, because even if you do become successful in starting your business, it's probably not going to take off immediately.
Yeah.
And you do want to make sure that, the bills can still be paid and all that. So that is quite a valid point you just raised right there, that little cushion, right? Very
Yeah, absolutely.
So how about those persons who, out of the blue, they have excellent work ethic, but for whatever reason, they've been laid off for this job that they have been at for decades, 2, 3, 4, 5 decades, in some cases. What can persons do if they find themselves in this predicament?
Well, in this situation, I can say, there are common blind spots that many people would, because having worked in a job for over a decade or so, right, you are used to the security and everything that it comes with, right? So chances are, like, you were covered with probably like with group benefits, right? And with your group benefits, probably you had life insurance there as well, right? But guess what? When your work stops, right, that life insurance is gone with that group plan as well. So you no longer have life insurance coverage. You no longer have group health benefits as well, right? So, and if something is to happen to you, or and you're no longer there, or maybe you pass away, or maybe you get sick and stuff like that, these are now costs that have to come out of pocket, right? So these are some of the things that you have to plan for. That's why most advisors will then suggest, hey, you should also think about having your own plan, especially like your own insurance plan on the side, right? Don't just count on the one from work. Also have something that you have of your own as well. Like if you say maybe you're no longer working at a job, right? They give you about, I think it's up to 60 days for you to transfer the coverage. Well, I'm talking in terms of the Canadians, right? It might be similar in other countries and all that kind of stuff. So just check in with what it looks like in your country. But usually they give about 60 days for you to transfer your benefits into a new plan, your own personal plan, right? Which will be great, because they can do that without having to do some medicals and all that kind of stuff. So I would encourage you, if you just lost a job, take advantage of that, because if you had encountered maybe other health conditions along the way, that may actually maybe hinder you from getting like the protection that you need. You should take advantage of that. Yeah. So those are some of the things that you can also do to plan ahead. So have your own policy that you can also use, and you also know that you have that protection for your family. Whatever comes, whatever happens, you know that your family is protected. Yeah.
Wow, excellent. Thank you so very much. How about persons who, what would you say to those persons who they say, okay, all right, I don't have insurance. However, I'm not sick, don't have any illness that I know about. Would you tell those persons that it's better for them to actually have insurance now, or should they wait later on until they actually need it. What's your advice as it relates to that?
Oh, okay, so I should just give a disclaimer to say, like, when I'm talking about these things, like, everyone's situation is different. So make sure, like, for your own special situation, make sure you talk to your financial advisor. And if you're my friend or family or someone who knows me, feel free to talk to me directly, because here we're just generalizing everything. That said, okay, for somebody that, just gets sick or maybe is diagnosed with a critical illness, suddenly, right, you get to find that in that situation, it may be a big hit financially, right? Especially when it comes to costs that may not be covered by the government and like whatever area that you are in, right? So things like that. And also you have to take time off from work to recover, right? And if you are not actually able to go back to work maybe for 2 weeks or so, and you were living paycheck to paycheck, guess what? The bills are not going to feel sorry for you to say, oh, you know what, we feel sorry for you, you're sick, oh, we're not going to come. No, the bills are not going to feel sorry for you. So the bills will always come. So you need to be prepared for that. That's why we talk about having an emergency fund along the way to also help with that buffer. But how far will that emergency fund go? Right? Because maybe you started it a year ago and you were just saving $20, $20, $20, right? Maybe you would have accumulated maybe at the most $500 or something like that, right? It doesn't even cover 1 month costs of your rent, of your utilities, your phone bill, cable, all those stuff, right? So what do? I encourage people, just like any other advisor would encourage you, to leverage some of the products that are out there. This is some of the knowledge that you just need to know and just take advantage of, right? You feel maybe it's taking advantage of them, but you have to take advantage of those products.
Absolutely.
Because most of the people, they think about the cost and they're like, oh no, the insurance companies, they want to take advantage of us and just take our money. No, if you do the calculations, you are actually taking advantage of them, right? Because if something's to happen, right, when you have your policy and something's to happen maybe in a year or two, they are going to cover it no matter the cost and no matter how much you have put in, right? So you are actually taking advantage of that. So there's a policy, there's a product called critical illness, right, which you can apply for. If you qualify, you get that coverage. And if you are diagnosed maybe with cancer, stroke, or heart attack, right, and you're not able to go to work or anything like that, there are some waiting periods that is something that you can discuss with your financial advisor to go into details with that. But I'm just going to be generic and just general about this. So if you have that policy, right, and you're diagnosed with that illness, right, you can be able to, you might actually qualify to then get a lump sum from that amount, right? So maybe you had a policy of 100,000, right? So you are diagnosed with cancer and they pay you out that 100,000. You can do whatever you want to do with it. Say, for example, they give you maybe 1 month, you might pass away in 1 month. And then you say, okay, I have family back home that I haven't seen and I want them to be around me in this time. Guess what? You have the money in your pocket. You can pay for their tickets and they can come and be with you in this critical time, right? You can say, okay, I always wanted to have a trip to go to this place. You have the money, you can do what you want to do, right? Any of the other hospital bills, or for example, you want your partner to be by your side, and guess what? They are going to be missing work. So if you are doing paycheck to paycheck, right, they might not even afford to be by your bedside when you're sick. Why? Because you are depending on that paycheck, right? But when you have the critical illness policy and it pays out, right, then you have that money. You can get the freedom to have somebody being by your side. And especially importantly, even for your kids as well, it's good to have critical illness coverage for your kids. Because guess what? You want to be there by their bedside, and it's you that they need the most in that time, right? But if you have to be going away and having to go to work because you are depending on that paycheck to be able to survive beyond this time that you're having challenges with, it's so hard, right? So take advantage of things that are in place already, right? Take advantage of things like critical illness to help you with that.
Wow. Oh my goodness. It's like these responses, they are just so phenomenal. And you know, that's, I think it would be better for persons to get those insurance policies because I cannot fathom someone going through the following. You know, imagine you have a very close family member or a very close friend of yours, you know they're in their final days, but because you have to work, you miss those final weeks or even days that you have with them. That person might never forgive themselves. So it's probably, you know, wise to have that insurance policy. Of course, speak to your financial advisor, as Grace said before, but you know, you got to weigh the pro and cons and all these things. So, well, you know, it's very interesting that we are probably still currently living through a global pandemic. Who would have thought that, you know, this would have happened? You know, I'm transitioning into this next question. So what would you say, Grace, is, you know, advisable for persons as it relates to financial preparing for some kind of catastrophe, such as a global pandemic, you know?
Yeah, so a situation like that, right? You know, there are so many things that are unknown, right? So you can't guarantee. So it's just like gambling, so to say, right? We say we hate gambling. Some people like gambling, right? So it's all about the odds, right? Some people went through the global pandemic and they weren't really much affected financially because maybe they were ready with their savings, they had good savings, or they never lost their job, they continued working and all that kind of stuff, right? So sometimes it can turn out well for other people, but in some cases, as we know, some people end up losing their jobs. Some people end up losing their loved ones as well, right? So having things in place, like if they had life insurance, right? If they lost a loved one, you know, those are some of the things, depending on what kind of insurance policy you had and whatever is included in it, right? You could have seen some of those insurance policies being paid out to cover the cost that you're incurring and making sure that there's continuity in life and availability of funds to continue living, kind of deal, right? And also for those that had emergency funds, right? Even though they had to dip into those emergency funds, right? They use those funds instead of having to cancel maybe a life insurance policy because they were trying to balance their bills along the way. They cancel other things that are important to them. Maybe they cancel kids extracurricular activities because they are trying to just balance things and all that kind of stuff. But when you have plans in advance, you know, you have an emergency fund, you have insurance policies in place, you have investments, all those things that you can have in place, right, to make you ready when something like that happens, will actually give you, it's like a game changer kind of deal, to give you an upper hand in such situations as well.
Well, interesting. And you know, now about that situation where, you know, you're dealing with inflation and you have to you're outpacing your income. So the money that you usually use to, you know, pay the bills, get food, stuff like that. But now things are more expensive. How can we prepare for such a situation? An unfortunate but real situation.
Yeah, we can actually relate to it, where right now we are dealing with, you know, inflation just hiking and all that kind of stuff. And it's sad because it's outpacing most of our incomes, right? So most of us might still be at the same level in your income. Maybe you haven't received a raise or anything like that, and you are forced to, you know, compete with rising costs like of gas, prices of food and all that kind of stuff, right? So things like that, right? When you have like emergency fund, they help in that to buffer, you know, so that you don't have like, you don't feel that much of the pinch, right? And when you have that, when you're building that emergency fund, right, to help you outpace the inflation, try to put it in an investment that is actually working harder for you, not just in a low interest rate. Because if it's at a low interest rate, you're not getting much in return that will be significant for you, right? If you put it in an investment that is getting a decent return that is outpacing the current inflation, that makes more sense, right? So you should also think about that. Talk to your advisor. They will let you know, they'll work with you in what of the, like, the different plans that you can get into that will help you to actually outpace inflation. Because right now, you may be thinking that you're winning, but inflation might be winning over you. And these are things that we can't, we have no control of, right? But we can do things in place to plan ahead and also protect ourselves as well. Yeah, so if you want more information about that, also feel free to inbox me, and I can also help you and direct you in that as well.
Definitely. Wow. So let's talk a little bit now about retirement and how we can properly prepare for that, because many persons, it's like we're just living in the now, and we're saying, okay, I want to be able to do this, I want to be able to do that. We're not quite really thinking about afterwards when we're no longer working and that income coming in. So
yeah. Well, you know what? It's just the same with say, okay, I recently had a baby, right? So I was pregnant, and like you get pregnant 9 months. That is the usual term, right? Some people may deliver earlier than others, but we know, like, it's a given, right? That is 9 months to getting my baby, right? So, and a lot can happen in there, right? The sad thing, maybe you might lose that, or when you get to the term, right, you have the baby, right? Yeah. So even now, right, we know we are going to get to retirement age, right? We're not getting any younger, right? So it's coming, right? Just like the 9 months are going to come and I'm going to get my baby, your retirement age is going to come and you're going to be there, right? So what kind of life are you wanting to live when you're in retirement, right? Do you want to continue working in retirement? And remember, you have to put in all the other factors. You may no longer be physically, fit for to be able to do the job that you're currently doing, or other jobs that may give you money, right? So these are some of the things that you have to plan for, right? So we talk about retirement funding, right? And at the same time, just like I was saying for emergency fund, make sure it's in a plan that is helping you outpace inflation, right? So that you also get to have the benefit of compound interest helping you along the way. If you don't understand that, don't worry about that. Just talk to your financial advisor. They'll be able to explain everything to you. But you want to make sure that it's also growing and working hard for you whilst you are like you're doing whatever you're working right now, right? So you plan for it, right? Because you are going to get there, right? And when you get there, you want to make sure that you have the life that you want to live. So you can just think about it in brief right now, right? How much am I spending a year, right? And then just think about it when you're in retirement, right? And usually, if we say technically, like if people are retiring around 65, right? So, and here in Canada, they say the people live up to almost like the average lifespan will be to age 85, right? So when you plan it with that, to say, okay, between the age 65 to 85, what kind of a life am I wanting to live, right? And how much would I need, right? So this is something that your financial advisor will be able to help you calculate. And when you know how much you need, you then be able to, track back and then see, okay, in the now, what am I supposed to be putting aside? Because sometimes you may say, oh, I'm starting a $100 plan, so I'm doing good, that kind of stuff. And yet you are left with 5 years to retirement. Guess what? It's not going to do anything for you. There's not going to be much in there, right? So you have to have a realistic check of where you are at and how much you're putting in there, and is it getting you to the goal? At the end of the day, of course, something is better than nothing, but you also have to do the reality check, because sometimes $100 won't make the cut, right? If you are 25 years old and you're putting $100 a month towards your retirement, hey, you have so much time for it to compound with interest along the way, right? But if you are 50 or 55, let's say, right, and retirement is just knocking right around the corner, and you're saying, I'm starting my retirement planning right now, and I'm just going to be putting $100, that's just going to be a little bit, right? And you're going to be forced to think about other plans, right? Here in Canada, we have other supports that are out there, like CPP, like the pension plans from the government kind of do, and other supports financially that the government also provide, but they don't usually make the cuts because inflation is also increasing. So still there's a gap that needs to be covered, right? So that gap is the one that we say plan for it ahead of time so that you have the cushion, you can live the life that you want to live, right? And don't be dependent on anybody, right? Otherwise, like, you're going to have a rude awakening when you get to retirement, and there you are, you have to be forced to go to work, and yeah, it might be an unfortunate situation for you as well.
That is so true because, right now I'm in Jamaica, but for the past couple of years I wasn't here. So there are things that I was saying to myself, the last time I was here, a bottle of water, for example, a regular 500 ml bottle of water was maybe $60 Jamaican dollars. And now when I hear that it's $100, I'm like, I'm not that thirsty. I'll wait till I get home. Because like some prices, I kid you not, they are ridiculous. And I'm like, if this was like just like a 5-year period and I refuse to even go to my favorite fast food place because I just refuse to pay that amount. Can you just imagine what the price of things will be like later on when you're in retirement? Especially like the farther away you are from the age right now is the more exuberant prices are going to get. Oh my gosh, so people, do prepare yourself. Don't let the situation, don't let the situation be where your favorite, maybe everyday thing that you would normally do and find joy in partaking in, maybe like getting, maybe not just a cup of coffee, but let's just say a cup of coffee made a certain way that you cannot recreate at home. Then every now and then you'd get that, but because the price is too much, you're like, you know what, do I really need this? No. Take heed and be prepared. All right. So now, what would you say to persons who? This is quite the topic right now. So, whenever there is an unexpected death in the family, so it's not like the person was ill, some kind of horrible accident happened, unfortunately, and then the person passed away. So, what can you do to not need to take out a loan in the event that something tragic happens? What's your advice for that?
Yeah, I can just posit a question to everybody here and say, okay, if that is to happen, just look at your situation right now. If that is to happen, what are your options? Okay, are you going to be asking from your friends? Are you going to maybe go into your credit card and, max it out to cover that cost? Or what are you going to do? Get a loan? That's if you qualify to apply for the loan anyways, right? And that's if your credit card right now is not yet maxed already, right? Are you gonna go on online and say, go fund me, go fund my family, put food on my table because I wasn't ready to prepare myself for my family. So now you do the job that I'm potentially able to do. If you had started something yourself, right? At least you have been preparing, and maybe if it's not enough, then asking for other people to help you. But this is a responsibility that we have. And especially if we are mature like this, right? If it's a kid or whatever, but if you are mature like this, we should take responsibility for this. Because I know in many of especially our African communities, and it's also there even in other communities as well, right? Whereby people end up depending on other people. And guess what? Those other people are also facing hard times, just like you, right? And even if they manage to put together the few cents and all that kind of stuff just to cover the funeral cost and all that kind of stuff, what's going to happen afterwards? Say maybe if the breadwinner was the one who passed away, right? So you have to think about that, right? How is life going to be afterwards? So things like that, you have to leverage things like life insurance, because life insurance, when it gets paid out, right? If you qualify for it and it actually gets paid out, right? You actually get to decide how you want to also use it, right? So you can pay some of the bills, some of the debts, you can pay off the mortgage, right? So that you don't have to continue worrying about paying off the mortgage if you're in a country that pays mortgage and all that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
You can pay for your children's education, right? And you can also be able to have money to continue life after the loss of a loved one,
Right.
right? But if we don't have that in place, yes, maybe you might, if you're a billionaire and you have so much money and all that kind of stuff, you might say, oh, I have enough money and all that kind of stuff. And, I don't have to have a life insurance plan and all that kind of stuff. But guess what? Most of the other, wise billionaires are getting to take advantage of life insurance policies because they know and understand what it does for them. So if you don't know and understand what a life insurance policy is and what it does and what it can do for your family to protect you and your family, make sure you talk to your financial advisor as soon as possible. And think about, when you're thinking about life insurance, don't just think about you yourself, right? That's being selfish. Think about your wife, your husband, your kids as well, right? Because you may be thinking, oh, you know what? I'm healthy, I'm good, so I don't need life insurance or anything like that, right? But if you're to pass away right now, right? And maybe you are single. If you're to pass away and you don't have any coverage or anything like that, right? And you have family around you, right? They are going to be the ones who are going to picking up that bill. You don't want that to be a send away message from when people are saying, oh, she left us with this huge bill and all that kind of stuff. Now we have to pay for everything for her. And of course, they might do it out of love and all that kind of stuff. But do you want to put it upon your family like that? No, I think it's not right. So you take charge for your own self, right? And also like protecting even for the kids as well, right? Because if you lose a child as well, like in the now, right? If you don't have money, you're going to be forced to try to look into these other plans as well, like maybe asking for people or going to debt and all that kind of stuff, right? So if you plan ahead, this is simple. Just get a life insurance policy, and it's not as expensive as many people think it is, right? So it would be good for them to actually do that and then protect themselves as well. Yeah.
Wow. So I'm gonna ask you one more thing, and I'm gonna ask you to. All right, let me do this first. So something that I do not ever hear anyone planning for is in the event that they become disabled. Sometimes, especially with these, I don't know what kind of drivers to say that they are, but they really do not think well sometimes before they go behind the steering wheel, and sometimes avoidable accidents happen, and they sometimes you don't come back, you don't get back home the way you left home. So what is a little word of advice for that situation where, or even because of an illness, you could become disabled? What is one way in which we can plan for that?
Yeah, and I like how you also talked about like a car accident, right? Because most of the people, they're like, oh, I'm healthy and I'm always, dotting every I, crossing every T, and all that kind of stuff. I'm doing everything perfect, right? So nothing's gonna happen to me and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't have to be something that you yourself do.
That's true.
It might just happen to you. Maybe someone else like who is having a bad day and they just crash into you, right? And you become disabled. Or you make a mistake, you slip and fall like in a bad way and injure yourself, right? And you're not able to go to work, right? So there's that financial impact that is going to come with that, right? So you have to think about that. So sometimes people will say, oh, I'm covered with work and all that kind of stuff, right? Because here in Canada, they do have like work coverage for accidents. But this is when that accident happened, when you are on the job, doing what you were supposed to do at the job. If you are no longer at the job and you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing at the job, it's no coverage from work. So,
It's, you're on your own.
so
Oh, wow.
yeah, so you have to make sure that you have a plan of your own. So there are policies out there. They're called disability policies, right? And some of them, like there's one that is called Safe Driver that anyone can actually apply for, right? So if you get injured or get in an accident, whether you are the one driving or not the one driving as a passenger, you get paid a certain amount for a certain period of time, you know, to take care of like the financial burden that you may be facing at that point in time, right? So these are some of the things. So if you get something like a disability plan, right, it will kick in, right, when you need it the most. Say there are some wait times that you can discuss with your advisor on that, whether you qualify or not, depending on where you are and whether your country has something similar in that. And I don't know, maybe they call it something different, right? But you can explore what they have in that regard, right? So that you can, this is all about cushioning yourself, right? And protecting yourself, because it doesn't matter how far or how much in your investments that you are starting and say, okay, maybe right now I just want to focus on my investment or kind of deal, right? I'm just wanting to focus on building my business right now for now, right? But it's something to happen before your business blooms, or it's something to happen before your savings, you know, add up to where you want it to be. What are you gonna do, right? So it's a good thing for you to actually do so and plan ahead and have the coverage in place as a good foundation for any financial plan.
Wow. Oh my goodness, words of wisdom. Thank you. Thank you for that. Now,
You're
I am
welcome.
curious to find out what is one of the big things that persons don't generally think ahead for, whether it is something that there's a slim chance of it happening or something that there is a reasonable, chance of it happening, probability of it happening, but people just never really think about it. And then they find themselves in great financial hardship. Is there something that comes to your mind?
Well, I can say, especially when it comes to kids, you know, getting critically ill or kids dying, kind of
Mm-hmm.
deal, is the most unfortunate thing, but it does happen because sickness and death comes to anyone at any age. But sometimes we just feel like it seems as if people have this mindset that, okay, death comes when you are old. That's when you die. So you're going to grow up, and then when you're old, then you die, right? And then they say sickness is for people that don't eat well, that don't exercise, and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But these things can happen to anyone at any time. And just like the accident, right? You didn't even cause it, right? And think about like some of the people that you know, right? That end up maybe passing away prematurely, right? I loved Kobe Bryant, right? And it's
Uh,
so unfortunate, right? What happened to him, right? He didn't plan it, right? But it just happened, right? And there are many other cases just like that that can happen to anyone at any time, right? So these are things that we have to do. So like I was saying at the very beginning, planning ahead is bringing the future. So you think about all these things, and this is what a financial advisor can help you with, right? To table, okay, what are some of the scenarios? Let's just cover ourselves ahead of time. So if it never happens, hey, wonderful, right? But if it does happen, you are protected as well, which is also wonderful, right? So yeah, so that's being like, those are some of the things that you have to consider. And I find most of the people, they forget about the children in their plans, and it's so critical because it can also affect them financially as well.
wow, thank you. And the very last question before we close for the night. This has just been epic, every single minute of it. How how do you like to advise persons who they are new car owners or new home owners and they believe, oh, they don't need to insure those stuff? Like they're always careful in the kitchen, so their house won't burn down, or they always take care to park their vehicle well, so nothing will happen. What advice do you have to give these persons? Because these are huge assets. I mean, you cannot
Mm-hmm.
just go decide tomorrow, okay, let me just buy a house. Well, the average person, which I am the average person, so, and many of us are, so
Yeah.
what advice would you give us to not be again in great financial difficulty in the event that we lose a huge asset just randomly, very suddenly?
Yeah. So if it's important to you, it's important to anyone around you,
Mm-hmm.
then you have to put protection on it. That's as simple as I can put it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you are renting or if you own, even your business, right? Your home, you have to insure it. Your business, you have to insure it, right? Your vehicle, well, here in Canada, you can't even drive it without the insurance. So it's a
Really?
given. Oh yeah, yeah, right? Why do they do that, right? Because this is the protection that is important for you to have, right? Many people may argue many other things, and there are some unfortunate things that might happen and all that kind of stuff. But you don't want something to happen to you and you're not prepared for it, right?
Yeah.
There are many people that get, flooding of their house and it's nothing to do with themselves, right? A pipe just bursted somewhere, or a sewer just bursted somewhere close by and causing a backup in their place, and it, caused a mess in their house and all that kind of stuff. Maybe
Yeah.
they were dotting every I and doing everything right themselves, but that just happened, right? And if you have insurance, that might be able to cover that for your home, and they can fix that. If it gets flooded, then they can be able to, replace some of the things, your
Mm-hmm.
furniture and all that kind of stuff, right? It's so important, right? If something happens, or especially when you are living in an apartment, I say get it right away. Like, get that protection, because someone maybe next door or on the other end may start the fire. Nothing to do with you and your family and all the good stuff that you have, right? And it just spreads to your unit, right? So just make sure you have coverage that you need, and it's said that we have to talk as if we are encouraging people. This should be something that people will be like, what? If I don't have insurance, oh my God, I'm going to take care of it right now. And I would want to say, like, especially for ladies, hear me, right? Make sure insurance policies are part of your financial plan and are part of the first things that you pay for, or after your tithes and offerings.
Right, right.
Make sure they're part of what you're paying for every month for your bills, right? Because it's really important. And if you don't know how important it is, feel free to inbox me. Let's talk about this. Let's have a chat, and I'll explain to you why it is necessary for you to do that. The men might not be proactive in some of these things, right? And maybe they are giving you charge over managing the monthly bills and all that kind of stuff. So make sure that you are taking charge of that, right? And make sure that your partner has coverage, right? So that if something is to happen, you're going to remain behind with the kids. It's not easy. If you talk to one of your friends that is a single mom and all that kind of stuff, right? Find out what the challenges are, right? They'll be able to help you understand how it's important it is for you to be financially prepared for anything that may happen. Yeah, it's not because maybe your partner might pass away. Maybe you get divorced. And if you're dependent on the husband, and now you no longer have that dependent, but sometimes some people end up staying in bad relationships, toxic relationships, just because they're just staying for that paycheck from the husband because he's the only one who is working, right? But if you have been prepared yourself as well financially, and you have your own plans in place, right? And you are ready financially, and you have your own emergency funding as well, right? You have to be prepared for these things. And, that would be really, really good to have in your pocket, right? And make sure that you take care of business first, right? Take care of the things that matter the most, because you don't want to wake up the other day, maybe your husband is gone, whether through divorce or maybe they passed on, and you don't have any coverage. Or it might be the other way around, right? you are the husband and you are depending on part of your wife's income as well, and your wife is no longer there, what are you going to do, right? So these are things that you have to be prepared ahead of time and have fun doing that. Many people think finance is, oh my God, a nightmare. Make it fun. Plan with your family, plan with your kids, make it fun. Let them know why you're doing what you're doing, right? And plan with them to help them be financially literate from a younger age as well.
That is true. Sometimes you can even create, it's a competition for the children.
Yeah.
Oh, they love that sometimes. And you spoke about us getting into contact with you. How do we get into contact with you? As we wrap up, I'd love for you to tell us how we can just get into contact with you and get some more of this incredible information, because I'm telling you, I am super interested now. My curiosity has been piqued to learn more, especially about this insurance and how it can help you in times of hardship. So how do we reach out to you?
Okay, so I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on WhatsApp as well. But WhatsApp is mostly the people that are closer to me. But if you need help, I can also be there for you through WhatsApp as well. Yeah, you can connect with me there, and you can even email me at grace.dube@eauclairpartners.com. That's grace.dube@eauclairpartners.com. You can email me there and I can be able to help you. But connect with me on social media. I will always get your message there. And in this world where the social media, where there are other people that are coming into your inbox for nonsensical things,
Right.
Maybe in your tagline or when you're starting your conversation, right? Make it plain that the kind of communication or connection that you are requiring, because sometimes, like, if they are nonsensical people, I mean, just like you, right? You won't just add anybody, right? But if you want to connect with me, you have a way to connect with me through that, and make sure you get my attention, so that I just don't tag you as those people, because this is a social media world whereby not everybody has good intentions, right? So if you have good intentions, I'm happy to be there and support you when you need it.
Definitely. Well, it has been amazing connecting with you today, Grace. Let me see if I can shout out. Right, let me see if I can shout out anyone here. Yes, we have so many persons who have been on this live, and guess what? The replay will be there for your friends who weren't able to log on, because I'm sure that you guys are spreading the word. And we're super happy to get this opportunity.
Let's give a shout out to King Towers.
Yes.
He's joined us. There is Carrie Madison, Madison Designs. Okay. And there's Limek, Line Tick, and there's Alter Sham Music.
Right.
There's Childolf Live. Right. Thank you for joining us. There's Anna Shash Makeup Magic.
Yeah.
There's also Kwazi Mpofu and BJGK. Thank you for connecting. And Save Your Life. Thank you for connecting. Gracefully Adon. I know you, girl. And of course, there's Steven Lusinger. Thank you for connecting. And we have F Chicks. Thank you for connecting. A big shout out to you. Oh my God. Yeah, F Chicks is my husband, you all.
Shout out to F. We have, is this M. Chael Aiden? I hope I'm not butchering the name, please. I hope I'm not.
Yeah.
And then we have Rat Dube. Ooh. Thank you for joining us, everyone. All right, so that is it for tonight. We'll definitely be connecting on social media, and I cannot wait for us to have this talk again about financial mindfulness. So have a great night, guys.
Yeah, catch us next month.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.